always remember, never accept the world as it appears to be. Dare to see it for what it could be.
Overwatch, a game about being salty and shooting your friends in a 6v6 competitive zone, trying to capture the objective or escort the objective or just do anything really. And hey, I might sound really enthused, but I'm not, because this is actually a video where I talk about the fundamental game and why it's changed over the years and why I don't really like it anymore. But I'm also going to talk about a lot of personal stuff, so if you guys don't want to talk about that, that's fine. This is going to be a little bit different video, but I'm still going to try and retain the same kind of editing stuff. So without further ado, let's get right into the video essay. So first of all, for all of you little squidgies, I don't know, but the first section is going to be about the gameplay, and then the second section is going to be about my personal feelings, and they're both going to contain a section where I talk about things that I don't like, or things to do with the game, or my life that has led me to not liking this game, if that makes sense. So, let's get right into it. First section, the game itself. See, the problem with this game, first and foremost, I think we need to address that Activision Blizzard, the whole loot box system, it's kind of scummy. If any of you at all watch Jim Sterling, then you all know that Activision Blizzard, well, more like Activision as a publisher, has really screwed over the gaming industry by filling their game with just microtransactions, and I don't think it's very healthy. Hell, it's not even healthy for the game, full stop. People will rush to defend microtransactions, but the point is that it's ruining our games. All these cool skins that you get in the game, you kind of have to pay money for it, because sometimes skins are limited to a single, maybe 2 events, and it's just not a fun economy anymore. With that being said, I'm going to now focus more on Blizzard now, because I can't really add anything to the whole microtransactions are bad conversation, because I just think they're bad full stop. See, Blizzard made a really well-balanced game when it first came out. Well, at least when I played it, it felt very balanced, although Ana was a bit overpowered, and she didn't launch with the actual vanilla game. I thought the game was pretty good, and I'm only speaking from someone who played since Ana came in, so apologies, but I don't have entirely too much experience before Ana came in, but I have been playing it since. I think the first problem arises when you look at all of the new heroes that have joined the roster that Blizzard have made. People like Doomfist and Brigitte and Orisa and Ana. I mean, they just all have crowd control abilities. Ana has her sleep dart, Doomfist has his punches, Orisa has her halt ability, and it's just not fun anymore, because you just go into a game and you're just being knocked around.
Is that fun? Is this what you want?
Hey, come on, man. It's not that bad. I mean,
Shh, Skyward Sword. Seriously, I'm doing like a show.
The thing is, as well, is that, and this was said in Seagull's video, but the game is all about hard counters now. If you don't have a hard counter, you're gonna lose. You know, it just doesn't make the game fun anymore. All the creativity and team playing has completely gone. It's completely shattered at all. Like, I want to play the game in a way that I want to, not how the game wants me to play it. And the second problem I have with Blizzard is that they never seem to correctly nerf or buff a hero. They always overdo it. They always over buff the hero, or they always over nerf the hero, because they just don't know how to balance the game properly anymore. There are so many heroes now that they just can't balance it properly, because if you buff one hero, people are going to say, oh, you know, don't buff that hero, nerf that hero, because that hero is annoying me now. Or if you nerf a hero, then it makes lots of other different heroes, well, much better. and then people start complaining about them, and then they get nerfed, or they get buffed, or, you know, it just goes in a circle, and Blizzard have never been able to sort of get that right again. And my chair is squeaking a lot, so please do bear with. A perfect example of this over nerfing, over buffing thing was Bastion, because, well, I'm not sure when it was, but I remember it was just over a year ago, I think, and Bastion was, people were saying there are problems with Bastion. He's either too powerful or too weak, and there was mixed signals, so Blizzard went away and said, alright, okay, we're going to work on him, and we are going to change some parts of him, and that's it, we're going to do that. And then they gave him a new passive ability which made him take less damage in his turret form, then made it live after people were complaining about it, and then everyone complained that he was too powerful, so then they over nerfed him again, and then he wasn't viable for a while, and now he's coming back again. And you see this cycle just goes in circles and circles and circles, and it's just not fun to be like, oh, you know, Blizzard have over nerfed this hero, or they over buffed this again, because it's a conversation you have to keep having. You should probably get to grips with balancing a hero. And to be honest, the game that they created way back when is now, it might look like Overwatch and it might play like Overwatch, but I don't think this is Overwatch anymore. I think this is just a different game now. It looks like Overwatch and it plays like Overwatch, and la-di-da, everyone's going to have the best time in the world, but it just does not feel like Overwatch anymore. It does not feel like the game I fell in love with a few years ago. It does not feel like a fun game anymore because everyone's just so salty, and that's my next point. People are just so salty. Even if you try and inject a slight modicum of positivity into the game, people are just gonna shit on you, and it's annoying. They'll blame you for pushes that you did even though you successfully pulled it off, or they'll blame you for them dying even though you're not a healer and you're not healing anyone, and they'll blame you for not DPSing enough because you can't kill like 6 people using one soldier magazine. It just doesn't, it's just not fun to go into a game and then feel like you're gonna be moaned and shouted at all the time. Yeah, people make mistakes, and everyone makes mistakes playing the game. I admit it, I make my own mistakes. But I don't think it's a fun game to, if you make one mistake, then, you know, you've just signed a death warrant. Mistakes can win or lose the game, I completely get that, but when you're just staking all of your hopes on this one push, and then there's just that one person who accidentally, or whatever, just doesn't kill enough people, and suddenly it's all them to blame. And I admit, I do get toxic myself, but I don't want to be. I want to be a positive person when I play this game, but this game just draws so much negativity out of everyone, including yourself, and it's just not fun anymore. It's not fun to go into a game and have to shout and moan at people, or be shouted and moaned at. I'm allowed to hold that controversial opinion that I don't like to be shouted at. Don't at me. How can you enjoy a game when the enemy team and your team just picks the same heroes every single game and says the same insults and the same, oh, you're suka bliet, your parents are gay or something? Like, it's just not fun anymore, and I don't see why people try and defend the game when there are so many inherent problems with it now. The events are good, the events are well made and fun, but now we've got to the sort of point where they're boring now, because all of the events in the year have gone by, and suddenly, you know, there's just this same event from last year. Like, right now the Halloween event is going on. Junkenstein's Revenge, let's play that again. And I said this in my Minecraft video, but it's just not being inventive anymore. Yes, there are new maps and new heroes, but they're so far in between. Like, few and far in between. It just doesn't... It's just not captivating anymore. I'm not like, oh, I wish I could play Overwatch right now, but I'm stuck at work. It's like, no, there are so many other games I'd rather be playing at the moment. Like, I would think of so many other games before I think about Overwatch. I commend everyone who worked on this game because they've made some really fantastic and interesting assets for the game, but now it's just not fun anymore, and there's nothing new about it anymore. There hasn't really been any new events where I've been like, oh, I should really boot up the game and play that. And what I mean is that they've done a good job in creating things and creating events, but they're only good for the one time around, and then suddenly you've seen it all before. And what I mean is the things that affects the game behind the scenes, so not the design of Moira has broken the game, or Anna's right eye is shot out and that makes me not want to play the game. No, it's the behind the scene. I hope my ranting makes sense, because I'm trying to make a point that, you know, the game is just not fun because there's nothing new to it and everyone's toxic, and there's a clear balance issue. If you remember Triple Tank in Season 3, Season 4, then you'll remember that Triple Tank was no longer viable, and suddenly DPS, like 2 or 3 DPSs in a team, was suddenly the most viable thing you can do. Now it's gone back to Triple Tank, and now it's slowly going back into this DPS meta again, because Bastion's now viable again, because there are so many tanks being picked. And you might actually say, yes, that's the develop of new strats and new tactics, that kind of thing. But I don't think it's an excuse for something that can totally be rectified. And I don't think it's an excuse for lazy balancing. Because when you balance one thing, it affects another thing. And then that changes the entire meta. And then when you rebalance again, you're changing the meta again. People get so upset when the meta changes because it's changing all the time. And not that that's a bad thing, because then people can learn new heroes, learn new tactics, that kind of thing. But I think it's a bad thing because there has to be a need for rebalancing and a new meta, because everyone just keeps complaining that a hero is either too overpowered or too underpowered. Stop getting salty, it's just a video game! Now, let's stop hopscotching around the subject, and let's actually get into the things that I actually do like about the game. Overwatch gave me this new kind of community to play around with. I could enjoy all of the Overwatch related content, like watching Zilbrad and Your Overwatch, to like learn about the game and the meta and everything that's great about it. But it also enabled me to play with my friends, because at the time GTA 5 was getting a bit boring, and this was kind of a new game that we could play, and it was really fun, and I played it, and it was fun to learn all of the heroes and play around with all the different heroes. The cinematics are utterly gorgeous. I cannot like give enough like praise to the animators and the designers of Overwatch, because they've made the game so gorgeous. They've made the cutscenes not cutscenes. They've made the animated shorts just so gorgeous. Some of them are predictable, like the Sombra one is a little bit predictable, the Diva one is a little bit predictable, but overall they're really fun to watch, and it's really fun to learn about this new world. And I mean, I can't help but say it, but when I was sort of in my prime of playing Overwatch, my day would consist of load up PC and then Overwatch allowed me to meet new people, such as my best friend Nopo. You know, we've known each other for 2 years now, and we met through Overwatch. But again, there's sort of a silver lining to that, and I'll get into that a bit later. But Overwatch was a really fun game, and the creativity of the devs is just so amazing. But I think it's important to also separate the creativity from the actual functionality of the game, because they are two completely different things. The creativity of the game, such as like the character designs, the voice actors, the just the overall world design is fantastic. But then there's the functionality design of the game, which is what I've fallen out of love with, which is unfortunately what carries a game. Its functionality, its mechanics. I've had some of my most fun gaming moments playing Overwatch, getting drunk and playing competitive and laughing at how bad the other team is, and just having a good time. But it kind of leads me back to my first section of this video. It's not very fun anymore. It, it's just not fun to be shouted at. It's not fun to be angry at people. It's not fun for people to be angry at you. It's not fun that you have arguments with your friends because they didn't do a push right, or your teammates are arguing with you because you didn't do a push right. You know, that there's no fun anymore. People play this game obviously for a competitive need that they have. They need to scratch their competitive sort of mindset, and I completely get that because I used to be just like that, and it was fun doing that. But I think now people have gotten too serious about it, and I feel like Blizzard have sort of become a victim of their own success because I don't think that what they're doing is actually beneficial to the game anymore. It used to be a good game, it used to be a fun game, but now it's just not because they've created this community of competitiveness, saltiness, and pretended that they really care about toxicity when they actually don't, because you still can't really report people for being quote unquote toxic when they promise to introduce that kind of feature. And again, credit where credit is due. The the creative minds behind this game is phenomenal. Like the art style and the graphics, and that what they had initially was fantastic. Hell, it was BlizzCon just the other week, and that new Ash short was actually really phenomenal to watch because it was just so gorgeous and well animated. The creative side of this is really good, and the game has so much potential. The storytelling has so much potential. But as I said before in my Mirror's Edge video, you can't judge a game on potential, and I think there's a point where you have to draw a line and say, okay, no, I can't judge this game on how good it looks. I can't judge this game on how pretty the cutscenes are that they make to sell the game more. You have to start judging the game by the game and how it works, and that's why I don't like Overwatch anymore, because it's just not a good game anymore. Um, so this part of the video is going to be the different part now. I think I've made my made my kind of I've made my peace with the fact that I don't like the gameplay, but I think for my sake and for this video essay, I'm gonna go into why I don't like the game anymore personally. Right, this is the fourth time I'm recording this section. This section is going to be unedited as it says on the screen, and I understand if you don't want to watch it. That is just a disclaimer, but from here on in, it's going to be pretty much just me talking with background filler footage of Overwatch. So, I have some notes on my screen here. Usually with my sort of scripts in my video essays that, well, I've only done two, but I like to have some notes, but I kind of want to keep it more discussion-y. But anyway, I have notes here because I actually want to talk about what's been on my mind. Right. So for context, which is the first heading, the context is that back in 2016, this game came out, and everyone loved it, and it was great, and all the YouTubers were playing it, and everyone was just in love with it. I was a bit skeptical about it. I just thought it was another TF2. I was one of those types of people. I was just like, oh, it's another TF2, it's another team-based shooter. I'm not really interested anymore. But something caved in, and I was like, okay, I'll get the game, sure. And I got the game, and Started playing it with friends, and it was good fun. I was only really playing it casually at this point, mainly because well, me and my friend used to play games every week. Anyway, I'm rambling. I've already got off script, and it's not even like 2 minutes in. So during sort of my starter days in Overwatch, I got into a relationship with someone. I thought it was a very mature relationship. At least that was my opinion of it for a good while. It was very mature, and it genuinely made me happy because I felt great in it. I felt indestructible, as a lot of people who are in love feel. They just feel indestructible, and you know. So I was with this person, and in retrospect, 5 months is not a long time. I completely get that, but it was a long time for me, and I felt really good for once in my life. And sort of unexpectedly, this person said that they were breaking up with me, which is like whatever, because like I understand why people want to break up. People do it all the time, but I genuinely loved this person. Like, it was genuine in love, and I felt heartbroken and upset because I thought this was going to be sort of my turning point in my life where things start to get good, because things are never really good with me. Then, I mean, that sounds like I'm not, but I thought things were starting to be good, and when it all suddenly started to fall apart, I didn't know how to cope with it, so I just played Overwatch, and that's all I did for 8 months. I'd never been that heartbroken before, and there's nothing that you can do about that. And I didn't know how to deal with it because it was the first time, and I'm sure everyone sort of has that first time, but I'm sure they only have it for a weekend or a week or something. But I was pretty broken, and so I just played Overwatch. And like I mentioned earlier, every day would just wake up and play Overwatch because I didn't want to acknowledge my feelings, and I didn't want to acknowledge the thought that I was going to be alone, which I thought was going to be forever. Which, I mean, I'm still not in a relationship now, but I know there's gonna be another one, but like, I I didn't know how to deal with it. So I played Overwatch like crazy every day, morning to night, and I've met so many people on it as well. I've met Nopo, he's been on the channel, and then I met Kirita Case through Nopo as well, and I've met so many other people as well, and some of these people I genuinely liked as well, and they also, I'm gonna say left me, but I assume that I'm the problem. But there have been so many people where I've got to know them and I've got to love them in my own way, as friends, as potential partners, and when you're sort of at my age, which is 21, 19 at the time. 19? Yeah, 19 at the time, and now 21, almost 22. It's sort of that really important part of your life where you're really shaping yourself and sort of finding out things about yourself, and everything at that point, and every time one of these people left my life, it shaped me in a way where I thought I was always in the wrong, because when everyone's gone and you're by yourself, isn't it only logical that you'd think that you were the problem? And I genuinely think that I was a problem. I mean, I might not have been the problem, but I certainly felt like it, because when everyone's gone, who do you blame? And every time I load up Overwatch now, I'm reminded of the heartbreak and the pain and the hurt of everything, and it's getting to a point where I can't deal with it anymore. I can't keep playing this game because it just reminds me of all the shit. And yes, I got through it as well, but it brings me back because it just hurts so much, and I really didn't know how to handle that. So yeah. This is not really my type of talk. This is more, especially on a public forum such as YouTube or anything, but this is more sort of friend talk. But I have to be honest, and I have to get this off my chest, because I had so many strong emotions over this, and again, every time I play it, I always think what could have been, and I always think what happened, and I always think that I could have done something, or I could have done something different. I could have stopped it from happening, and I didn't, and I kind of have to live with the fact that I'm kind of a shitty person in some ways, because that's what I feel like. I feel like a shitty person, because, like I said, when there's no one else, who really can you blame? Anyway, I'm gonna end the video. I've had quite a bit of anxiety about releasing this, but I think I might have got it now. I think I've hit sort of my mark on it. So I'm literally going to finish this and upload it, and sounds so professional, doesn't it? Anyway, yeah. Thanks for listening, if you got this far, because it's like almost 30 minutes, and yeah. So I'm just gonna end the video, no end screen or anything. I'm just gonna say my due diligence. Messed it up. There we go. Yeah, okay. I'll see you guys in a later video.